be nervous because this is just like it's me and you, okay?
Right. I told my daughter, said, like, I feel like she's a whole celebrity. Like my blood pressure's up. I'm so nervous. Like I'm super nervous.
Girl, we go way back.
Right. All right, so let's get started. So, hello world. How's everyone doing? How are you feeling? My hope is joyful, inspired, seen, heard, and cared for, and hopefully after this episode, healed or on the journey towards healing.
Yeah.
So welcome to What You Raving About podcast, episode 3. We have Zubi here with us today, and she's going to be talking about her memoir, Survival, and also her survival guide, y'all. These are dope. So we're going to get into it, but y'all got to get both. I recommend both. So before we get started, we start off every episode with a vocabulary word or a phrase. And today's vocabulary word is, let me make sure I'm saying this right, ameliorate.
But why was I on Google listening to the pronunciation before we started recording? Like, wait, let me make sure.
Listen, so I have the vocabulary app. So whatever word comes up when I open that app, that's the word I go for. And I gotta press it too. Like, okay, how you say this?
And here's the thing, this word was perfect.
It was very fitting. So ameliorate, and it's spelled AMELIORATE. It's a verb and it means to improve. So super fitting for today's episode. So, all right, let's get started. So thank you, Zoo, for coming to the show. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's life now that you're an author?
Man, listen, I finally know the definition of booked and busy, and I don't know if I like it because I'm tired, girl.
Listen, it's a blessing though. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to adjust, because when I tell you I am tired, but it's just like transitioning. Like I haven't worked in a few years, but this is so much different than that. You know what I mean? Just trying to make that adjustment.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. I'm giving you your flowers, girl. Mm-hmm. So before we dive into the memoir and on your journey of healing, let's talk about your journey with MS. Now, you touched up on it very briefly in the book, and people who know you privately, like they know the journey, but for the new listeners, give us a little insight and backstory on your MS.
I'm so happy you brought that up and that you noticed that it was just mentioned in season 1.
Yeah.
That actually was intentional, because everybody expected my book to be about my experience with MS. Like for years, I felt like that was what defined me. Oh, Soraya, that girl with MS. Like, you know, it was kind of, I didn't like it. I didn't like the label. And so as my life started to continue happening, because life is lifing, right?
Life be lifing.
When life started really kicking my ass, I'm all like, my life is so much more than just that. Like a lot of people not pity me, because a lot of people support me, but a lot of people would give me grace because of MS. It's, oh, you know, she gets a pass and I'm all like, that's not the only thing I deal with, y'all. Like, you know what I mean? More to my life than just that.
Right.
So I intentionally only referenced it for perspective in the first book to show that I'm a person beyond that. Right. And then the next book, which is halfway written, by the way, is when I really dive into the MS diagnosis, exactly what happened. I know that you had mentioned you had heard things about like the birth control. Listen, the rumors that I heard about myself upon my diagnosis were wow. And that was a crazy time.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy that people, like, you know, I don't even know how the conversation, who told them or whatever the case, but the fact that people, they just take things and run with it. And it's like nothing in it is based on any kind of facts. It's just like wow to me, but I guess that's how people are. And I'm like, birth control, what she, like you had a whole stroke or something. I'm like, damn, like, I hope this be all right. I know birth control hit you like that.
And here's the thing, birth control be tearing Black women up, but that wasn't my experience. I've only ever been on the pill. Like I've literally only ever been on the pill. I ain't never heard of the pill doing nothing crazy like that. Listen. And I remember when it happened, it was on the internet before I said anything. And I think that was the hardest part. And this was before, like social media was a thing back in 2009. Like we had Facebook, but it wasn't like it is today. Obviously. Right. Social media looks totally different. I'm thinking like present day, if my situation would have happened present day, I might have went viral the way it went down back then.
Listen.
You know what I mean? Like, and I was
Straight
like,
up.
okay. And so, because like I said, my life was starting to become defined by that experience, I had to change the narrative and say, I'm a whole person. You know what I mean? My life is bigger than just that. Yeah, that's a large piece of it because it definitely shifted the entire trajectory of my life. But there's still everything else that goes on in life that I'm dealing with too.
Right.
That didn't just stop everything else from happening.
Right.
That it was important to focus on the life experiences that everyday people can relate to.
Right.
And then jump into my diagnosis, because I know that there's a whole audience waiting for my experiences with that as well. Because like we said, that was wow. I went to the hospital and they told me and my parents I might not ever walk again.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Like a normal life, like a halfway normal life with, of course, normal problems, to just like, bam, you may never walk again.
Right. And I was 19. I was a baby. Like, college. And I just made a post the other day just talking about, how the hardest part of this is the finance part of it. People don't understand. When you have a chronic illness or a disability, you continuously need treatment, which means continuously being seen. And these doctors need money. Right. You know what I mean? Like my medical expenses are out of this world, and the system is rigged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I've been middle class my entire adult life. And because I'm middle class, I didn't qualify for much of anything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And most of what I was making was going towards medical
bills. Yeah.
And even when I did find some relief, there's a program in the state of Pennsylvania called Medical Assistance for Workers with Disabilities. I was able to qualify for that. And the crazy thing about that is, when I first graduated, I was on my father's insurance. I had my own. My dad kept me on his until I, turned 26 as the law changed. But it was kind of on and off. So he didn't always have it. So it was important now when I got a job that I got it as well. Excuse
Bless
me.
You.
Oh my goodness.
Bless you.
Thank you. And so I ended up getting laid off in, I don't know, 2013 or 14. And when I got laid off, I lost my benefits. My dad wasn't working. You hear what I'm saying?
Double whammy. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, what am I do now? And the doctor's office that I go to put me in contact with this. She's a patient advocate for Mercy Behavioral. I know you're familiar with that. She worked through Mercy Behavioral and she was a patient advocate, and she introduced me to MAUD. It's called Medical Assistance for Workers with Disabilities, where even though I didn't qualify for the state benefits because of my income, because I have a disability, I qualified, but because I worked, I had to pay a premium. But the premium was so much more affordable than what I was paying my employer. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'll give y'all this money every week. So I signed up, but the problem was that by the time I found out about that, I was 24. And in that little bit of time in my adult life, I had acquired so many assets that I was almost didn't that. Yeah. So I literally had to stop. Like, I'm like, I got to stop saving money. I got to stop contributing to my 401k. I got, the good thing was they don't count a house and a car against you. So I've owned my house since I was 21, 22.
Okay.
And that didn't count against me. But if I had another property, it was a wrap. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, you can't have anything.
Stipulations is crazy. Like, you want no help, you can't have this, and this. Yeah.
And I even I kept it when I went back to work after the layoff. And I was good. And then we were supposed to get a raise, but instead of us getting a raise, they decided to make a bonus contribution to our 401k.
Say I didn't ask for that.
Then my grandfather passed away, and there was a life insurance policy that the family forgot about that came to me. So I got all this money from this policy, and it wasn't a lot. It was only $5,000. Come on, we ain't talking about no whole bunch of money.
Right.
It was only $5,000. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So that plus that contribution in my 401k, I was no longer eligible for the MAUD program. And I lost that coverage like a month before I was scheduled to have brain surgery.
Whoa. Life be lifing, man. Like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And everybody's like, well, the blessing is you can pick up insurance through your employer. Yes, I can. But now that I'm picking up that insurance, I'm paying more per month per paycheck. I still have to pay the deductible for the coverage when I get the surgery. Then there's co-insurance.
Right.
Okay. When I had state benefits, it was $1. My co-pays was $1.
$1. You say I paid a whole year. Let's do this.
And that, like I said, I'm pretty sure I still owe on that surgery. They're gonna have to get that back in blood.
But listen. Oh well. So, you have MS, but you look great. And
thank you.
And honestly, there's many times I forget, like, you even have MS until like you make a post about being tired or something. I'm like, oh yeah, because you're functioning, you're out there, you're doing it. You do the best you can to your ability. And it's like, I know people, I guess the pity party, but it's like, don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Right. And you did reference in your book, I think it was in the self-discovery portion, you said, I didn't want my life to be defined by my MS when I'm composed of so many more complex realities. So I think people need to be mindful of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to, you want a pity party, give me a couple dollars so I can pay these. I can pay these
medical bills. Right? You want a pity cake? I'll take payment for pity.
But I know also you were involved in, like, you used to do the walks and different things like that. Do you have anything this month that you're doing for MS month, or you're taking a step back because you booked and busy now?
All my life, I'm booked and busy. So actually, my partnership with the organization that shall remain nameless,
okay,
ended before the pandemic. So the pandemic happened and we couldn't really do nothing anyway. But
right.
Before the pandemic, I had found out. So remember that one time you reached out to me and we had lunch and you sent me a message on Facebook, but you had like changed your name and I didn't realize
you thought it was somebody else. Yeah.
So the somebody else, right? She had reached out to me in 2019 and was asking me about getting a tent down at the point for the walk. Cause usually like the organization would accept donations to get a tent for your team and all of that. So I'm telling her, I'm giving her information. She was like, well, they're telling me it's $5,000. And I was like, I ain't never paid on people $5,000. Like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
Out the point. So I said,
right.
Let's reach out to my contacts. So, and I was behind schedule that year too. So I reach out and I'm like, can you send me the application? I'm ready to apply. She goes, based on your donations for this year and last year, you don't qualify. And I go, excuse me?
You don't qualify for that, huh? You don't qualify for that.
2019. I've been walking with them since 2009.
Yeah.
Every year, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 would have been the 11th year. And they tell me, you don't qualify. I'm like, what do you mean? She's all like, well, the stipulations have changed. You have to have raised this much. And I was all like,
oh, so that's a money thing.
They priced us out. And here's what happened. And I don't know this by matter of fact, but me and you are kind of smart. The math, I made the math, right? So right. Nonprofits get a lot of corporate sponsorships and donations. We know that. These corporations will give them tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Down at the Team Village where we would have our tents and everything set up, some of those corporations had the big tents. Right. Most of those ones were like the pharmaceutical ones who have like samples and little like, trinkets and things like that. Medications. Right. And then there were the smaller tents. Well, we could rent whatever we wanted. I didn't get a real big one because my team is big, but we're not going to be there that long. I just want a little, So it was usually like a $300 donation, maybe, a couple dollars for chairs and all of that. Well, I think what ended up happening was these corporations who were donating all of this money found out that there was an opportunity for them to have a marketing opportunity for and so in order to ensure that there would be tents available for the big wigs, they just said, okay, we're going to raise because here's the thing, I'm not giving y'all all that money. And I already had my team concerned about why I was donating so much money to them anyway. They're like, why aren't you keeping it for yourself? And I don't know. But after that, everything that Team Ray Ray donates and collects now goes to my medical expenses.
Respect it.
Yeah, like I can't respect that. You get what I'm saying? Like, y'all, that's wild. So I said, you know what? All Team Ray Ray funds go directly to my medical expenses. It's helped. It don't cover it all, but it's helped. And I'm like, why ain't I been doing this before?
Right.
You know what I mean? But trying to do the right thing, give back to these.
Being honest, yeah. And sometimes it just don't pay. It's a good deed, but sometimes, it doesn't pay in the long run.
Right. Because it really was no benefit to me.
Right. Right. So one more MS question, then we're gonna dive into your tea. All right. So during your healing journey and through many of the things you mentioned in your survival guide, did you ever have like a spike, or like, was your MS under control, or did it like spike where you're like, you know what, I gotta step back because mentally this is not right for me, but physically, like, this is extremely draining?
I feel like because of me and your history and your experience with your health, you're spot on with that, because literally my life started falling apart. I don't even say falling apart, because good things were happening and bad things were happening simultaneously, because life is lifing. So there's all these, and I kept finding myself struggling because there's bad stuff happening and there's good stuff happening. And I feel terrible trying to celebrate the good stuff because there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was terrible. The week that I got engaged, I lost 3 childhood friends. I felt terrible. I could not
celebrate. Yeah.
Literally, I got engaged on Saturday. Tuesday, one was gone. Thursday, like, it literally was back to back. Like, and I couldn't even celebrate.
Yeah.
Hard, because these are the people that I'm ready to invite to my wedding. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
I'm sorry. I know that this is a clean podcast.
You all right. Let it out.
It was really, really hard. And I didn't realize how hard it was until life kept lifing.
Yeah.
Because right after that, I lost the insurance and it had the surgery. All of that happened that same summer, right? Gotta laugh to keep from crying. My mom would be like, "It's not funny. What am I supposed to do?
What can you do about it?" Right. What can you do about it?
Maybe that was all the same summer.
Man.
And that was when it was like, and I was losing my footing. I couldn't do it no more. So you're right. There were things that were starting to happen in my life that had me like, this is way too risky. You know,
yeah.
Had this brain surgery. You know, we know what the number one trigger for MS is. It's stress. I'm pretty stable right now, but all of that can change. And I just start looking around me and making choices for myself. Like, I can't take that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I only have so much. So definitely my health was a huge part of me making a decision to start this healing journey and start eliminating things in my life that were detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for starting your healing journey. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for the survival book. Like, your journey, you're so transparent in your honesty, and like, even down to like reading the book and like you dropping your curse words and your F-bombs. It's like, it was so fitting. And it was like, I'm glad that you didn't water down who you was for your audience. Like, I'm giving y'all the real raw me, and take it or leave it. And of course, people were taking it, and some people were just like, you might have a hit out on you some places. But I respect it, like, your bravery, because many of us, like you said in your book, like, we're raised on keeping things in-house. And for you, that's like, it created like so much discomfort within your own self, because I'm holding on to things that I need to release, and I can't release it because the people I'm trying to release it to don't respect it. So you took a different avenue. And I feel like you doing this has created the door for many people, not even just women, but men, to be like, you know what? Let me start healing. And I don't care if the way I choose to heal doesn't look right to you.
And I'm so happy you said that, because because you read the book. So there were certain things about my husband's life that I wasn't going to include. I just didn't feel like it was my place to tell his story.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, put it in there. There were certain things that he was intentional about me including, so that people could understand that he was a big part of why I started tripping when I started tripping. And I was like, well, thank you.
After reading it, and then like, y'all went through so much, but it's like, y'all needed each other. Like, y'all needed each other. You needed him to help him, to become the man that he has become. And he needed you to, I guess, help you unpack all your trauma. So although it was not like, damn, I'm sick of you, but y'all needed each other. Like, y'all needed each other for this growth.
I would not be the woman I am today if not for those experiences.
Yeah, right.
I feel like we all know everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And I can honestly say that I ignored hella red flags when I was dating my husband. But People get upset when I say I had no business accepting my husband's proposal, and it has everything to do with me and nothing to do with him. I didn't know enough about myself to be making that kind of commitment at that age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it shows with the things that I ignored, during our courtship and our engagement and things like that, and the things that I was willing to put up with. But at some point in life, I was going to learn those lessons.
Right.
It is with a man who is not perfect, but who sees the reality of his trauma and is willing to do the work. Because I was out, you know what I mean? And he realized, like, damn, this is really messed up. Like, I really got to get my shit together. And we had to this is how we're still together. Because people ask all the time. We're still together because we made a commitment to each other when we realized how bad things were, that neither of us had done the work on self before we committed to each other.
Yeah.
We want to stay together because we love each other. Love
right.
Right. Have to give each other space to figure us out. So we're married now, right? This is a whole partnership. I don't think in marriage, and it's all like, it's not, we can't just walk away,
Right.
So we committed to giving each other space to work on ourselves so that we can be better for ourselves, which will result in us being better for each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's still not easy. Every day is not easy, but I could honestly say, like, our arguments now are dumb as hell. We argue because I got mad because he folded the cover wrong, or
I'll take those kind of arguments though. I'll take them.
Right. They're dumb arguments. Like, bruh, pick your sock up. Like, before it was bad.
Yeah.
What was that movie? It came out during the pandemic. It was on Netflix. It's with Denzel Washington's son and Zendaya.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen that. What's the background history of it?
The story, the whole movie is them two arguing. I swear to goodness. It's them two in the house arguing and fighting. Malcolm and Marie, I think it's called.
I don't think I've seen that.
Or you got to watch it. But there were mixed reviews on it. And ironically, it came out and I watched it while I was in quarantine with COVID at a time where we was beefing heavy.
Yeah.
So I understood everything that was happening on that screen. I'm like, people think this is crazy. I'm like, because it really looks crazy. I'm like, but when you're
it's real.
Yeah. And like, because of the things that my husband was into before we got together, my husband's 9 years my senior. He's a grandfather, present day. Like, my husband lived a whole life before me.
Y'all grandparents.
He is a grandparent. Okay? But it was one of those things where you know me, so I'm not that person that I'm not going to say something if something's not right. Like, people, I don't know if people think like I don't be checking my husband, because we check each other. Don't get it messed up. We definitely check each other behind closed doors, but bruh, that's some BS. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it was hardcore, like, and it's because as a man of color in the lifestyle that he grew up in, ain't nobody holding him accountable.
Right.
Gonna challenge him. You know what I mean?
We don't do that, unfortunately. Yeah.
And here I come.
You say, not today.
Right. And so, Malcolm and Marie was one of those things that was like, okay, so we're going to get through this. Like, we had to let this all out, put it all on the table. And I'm curious to see what you think about it once you've had a chance to watch it.
Okay, I'll let you know. So at what point did you decide I'm gonna write a book? Because, some people, they post or they make videos about their life or what has happened. At what point were you like, I need to write a book? Because y'all won't believe this mess that's going on with me.
But like I mentioned in the preface of season 1, I knew when I was diagnosed with MS that I wanted to write a book back then. Yeah. Because the things that I was seeing and the things that I was experiencing at such a young age, being introduced to adult life in a different way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I have lived my entire adult life with multiple sclerosis. So I had to learn to advocate for myself in a way that my peers didn't have to. And so I I knew then, I was like, I'm going to have to write a
To
book.
write a book.
I didn't know how or when or, what. And I was 19, 20. And I'm just like, one day. And then you look up and you're 30. And ironically, people started asking me about a book, but people started asking me about a book when things went left with me and my husband's children, when people seen me beef with my dad, and people were all like, so you should write a book. Cause I would post about things,
right,
but I wouldn't give the whole story.
right.
I would post where I'm at with it, but I wasn't giving all the details. And as my life started to purposefully fall apart and I was putting back the pieces, I was like, can't be the only person who's going through something like this. I know I'm not. And when I was going through it, I was drowning and I felt like there was no safe space. I'm not like, there's no way there's all these solid ass Black women in this and we just struggling by ourselves. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We've got to do something about this. And so when all of those complex realities other than in MS started to surface, I'm like, now's the time. And I hadn't been working since before the pandemic. I started the notary business. Me and my husband were doing mirrors. Job. He went back to work. All this stuff was happening. And I was in no condition to go back to work because when the pandemic happened, I'm high risk. You know what I mean? And then life just kept happening. And so I hadn't been back to work. So I just had time. And I would just release and just write. And my girlfriend said,
your book for everybody who's going to be watching. Go ahead. You can keep on.
She was like, you should write a trilogy. And I'm like, I don't think I had that much to say. Because when I first outlined what I wanted to cover, it would have been about 10 chapters. You've seen the book. I kept writing it. And it just got to be so much. And I'm like, I can't tell my whole life story in one book.
Yeah.
So I had to look at what I had drafted and put the pieces together like a puzzle. And that's how it ended up with my experience with my health and MS and all of that only being referenced in the first book for context, but all of that's coming in the next one because I thought that it was fitting to, cover that stuff with, the MS diagnosis, the brain tumor, my mental health, because at some point I was eventually diagnosed with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, PMDD, and personality changes from the brain tumor. So all of those things. Right. So that's in season 2. And I was like, it's too much to try to put all of that in the first book. You read it, it's already heavy. You know what I mean? So it just was a matter of splitting it up. So once I was able to, as my girlfriend says, do what people hire editors and teams to do, I literally, this entire series was constructed by my own creativity. Because they were my life experiences.
Right.
I decided, okay, I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to put this here. I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to put this here. I want to position this like this. Because if you notice, it's season and not volume. Most books are like a volume.
Yeah.
So I intentionally went with seasons and I had the soundtrack and all of that because I felt like my story read like a binge-worthy drama series.
Listen, your creativity is so dope. And I don't want to give too much to the people who don't have it. I need them to go get it without giving too much. But down from the music cues, the packaging, just the way it looks, everything is dope, super professional. If I didn't know you, I would not have known this was your very first piece of work.
Oh, thank you.
Super dope. And to the guide, because I feel like we got to touch upon the guide, even to the guide and the way you, like you said, you separated everything, but your ratings of how do you feel unpacking this topic? And how do you feel about this? And I'm like, I don't even know how I feel about this. I'm gonna put it in there and come back to this because I don't even know how I feel about it right now. But I love it. And you started with childhood trauma. And I think as adults, many of us don't go back that far to even distinguish where did all this root from? Where did this stem from? So everything about it is so dope. I love it. I love all of it. So keep it coming. Season 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. I'm here for it.
Season 2 is about halfway done. I still have a lot of holes to fill. I need to, honestly, the story is literally still being written present day. So
absolutely.
And then I want to put together another workbook but more related to health and wellness. So that's something I'm considering doing. But like I said, I'm excited about season 2. Like I said, the success of season 1 has been, woo! I didn't expect it to happen this way quickly as it did. And I'm so busy. I don't have time to just sit down and write because now I'm running the business. You know what I mean? So I'm all like, I can't write because I'm worried about this booking and this event and this show and this. And I'm just like, but I'm grateful. Season 3 is outlined. It's outlined.
Okay, you all the way ahead. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I got plans, I got goals, I got visions. But it was important to me that when my stuff came out, like you said, that it did not look like it was my first body of work. I was very, very intentional about positioning myself as a self-published author as a business. From the day I decided I wanted to write, I registered my pen name as a business. So
now.
Literally, I was like, this is a business, you know? And I was like, I'm an avid reader too, right? So because I read, I know what books consist of, how they flow, you know what I mean? Those things were important to me. I have books by traditional publishing houses and well-known authors. I have tons of self-published books, and a lot of times you can tell the difference.
Right.
I want you to be able to tell the difference with mine.
Well, good job today, because it's dope. So where can the people find your books? How can they purchase your books?
SoZuB.com. So if you visit SoZuB.com, you can get the memoir and the survival guide as a bundle, and then the survival guide as a standalone product. Presently, I'm not. The memoir hasn't been released as a standalone product yet, and the reason why,
and I don't think you shouldn't. I don't think, not to cut you off, but I don't think you should do that. But go ahead.
Okay, so I'm happy you said that. So what ended up happening was, I got through writing the memoir first. And I let my girlfriend read some of it because, I had people in real time as I'm reading, giving me feedback, like it was a big deal. There were a lot of hands in helping me make sure that this was presented in the way that I intended. Cause my mouth is a little crazy. And once upon a time, it might've been some mess, but the woman that I am today, it's bigger than that. You know what I mean? I wanted it to read that way. So when my girlfriend read it, she's like, this is so good. She was like, but now I got to go to therapy twice a week because I'm triggered. And I was like, no, baby, no.
I was upset. I'm not like, they jumped. What?
Listen,
I was feeling emotions for you. Like, I laughed, I felt sympathy. I was frustrated. I'm all like, the audacity. Like, I was feeling those emotions with you and for you. Like, and you kept it graceful though. And I'm all like, kudos to you. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because I could have told the story in a completely different tone. I could have, you know what I mean? Because even my husband was all like, babe, you did good. You spoke to the facts. You spoke to your feelings. It didn't come off as malicious. Like, so I was grateful for that. But when my girlfriend said that she was triggered the way that she was, I said, that defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. Because yes, I share my experiences with the culture so that they know that they're not alone. I also don't want them to be stuck like, what am I supposed to do? When I was unpacking it, I was like, what do I do? Yeah. So that's how the survival guide came about. And I've had it endorsed by multiple mental health professionals, social workers, licensed therapists, clinicians, all of that. I thought that was important because I don't have those credentials. Yeah, I got a business degree. I am a certified mental health advocate, but most of all of my experience rather with mental health are my experiences. Right. You know what I mean? And so I thought that from a treatment standpoint, it would be important to have professionals look at what I did to make sure that it was appropriate, it was effective. You know what I mean? I wasn't crossing any lines or anything like that. And all of the therapists that looked at it said, hell yeah, we need this. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I didn't even realize what I had until I was getting the feedback. And they're like, so I know this is supposed to go with your memoir, but like, we need this for our clients. And I'm like, damn. Right. Deal. So I decided that in an attempt to integrity, protect the culture, you got to get, you can do the work. You don't have to read my story, but I refuse to just put my story out there without having some support.
Right. And I do want to touch upon, so it's clear that your guide, it's not just for the things you went through. Like you have surviving PTSD, addiction, coming out, childhood trauma, failed friendships, like almost anything that you could have trauma for is in here. So I just want to make that known that this just isn't about just your childhood trauma or father issues or mother. It's about just about anything you can think of is in here to unpack.
It's I feel like it's very comprehensive. And so on this journey for self-publishing, like I said, writing, I could do that. I'm gonna just write, but like the publishing part, I had to really, because I wanted to treat it as a business, right? Because it's my business. I did a lot of research. I did more research about how to properly self-publish than I did writing the book, honestly.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that it was done a certain way. Well, in my research, there's tons of coaches out there on the internet that are scamming people, you know. But like, I'm just happy that I have the gift of discernment because some coaches were coaching things and I'm all like, I don't agree with that. Because I would take like free workshops to get a feel for the coach. Because, you know, all coaches aren't one size fits all. You just pay a
right.
coach. That's crazy. You have to, you know what I mean? And so I was joining a free workshops that I was still to kind of see if I could find a coach that was a good fit for me. And the biggest things that a lot of coaches would coach and that I was seeing all over the internet was you have to niche down, you have to niche down, you have to niche down. You can't just say trauma because there's all kinds of trauma. You have to be specific about the trauma. And I'm like, that's unrealistic as hell. I don't know a single person that's only experienced one kind of trauma.
One trauma. Right.
So I wanted to change the narrative. Yes, I get I understand the point of niching down from a marketing and a business perspective. But while I was treating this like as a business for my personal reasons, I'm not really in this for profit. I just need to make a living. I really just want to help. You know what I mean? I'm not like, I don't care about niching. No, let's be real, you know, because whose life is really niched? Because like I said, my life was more than just MS.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was why I did things the way that I did so that I could change the narrative so that people can understand the realities for most people. It ain't just one thing.
It's not. It's
usually one big thing that might implode somebody's life and the other things start to, you know, come out, but it's never just one thing. Most people don't go back to their childhood. And that was what was hard for me because I started reliving some of those childhood traumas I experienced probably in like 2017. And there was no safe space. My parents weren't even a safe space. You know what I mean? And I'm not mad at them for that because I understand what my parents went through. I understand where they are. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? It was more hurtful that I'm like, damn, ain't nobody here for me. You know?
Right.
In a way that I need because everybody is struggling.
Right.
The only way to fix that is if we all get to a point in our lives where we want to address these things so they're no longer stigmatized, taboo. Like I could talk about, and I'm not bragging, but like molestation. I can talk about those experiences of mine now without getting choked up and crying about it because I dealt with it. You know what I mean? And I think it's important for people to know too that I am not healed. I'm healing. I don't think I'll ever heal. You know what I mean? I don't think I'll ever be healed. It's a continuous journey.
Right.
Once you've healed from one thing, something else
is happening. Yep. Something else coming. It's coming.
So there's no such thing as healed.
Right.
In my perspective.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you, where are you on your healing journey? And if you felt healed now that you have published, but you just made a very good point.
I've healed from certain experiences, but I am not healed at all.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's a continuous journey. Like, for example, the experience with my molestation, like I can talk about that and not get choked up about it anymore because there's no longer shame attached to it. I was a child, you know, it wasn't my fault. Like I can, that reality. Now, the people in question is a different situation.
Absolutely.
You know? Absolutely. I can't necessarily coexist with those people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, most people were victims before they were perpetrators. So honestly, I empathize with my abusers because what happened? You know what I mean? As a Black woman and knowing what I've seen and what I've grown up in and around and the things that happened to me, I empathize with my abusers. I'm not mad, like, you know, because at the end of the day, nobody was there for them either.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people are like, wow, like that's so big of you. And I'm all like, We were children, because for me, in my experience, my molestation was never at the hands of an adult. It was always an older child.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And so as an adult looking back, as an adult, I'm like, we were all kids. I'm not saying that they were right. Never going to say that. Absolutely wrong. But what happened? You know what I mean? And so, like I said, just giving people grace and, you know, letting go of things. I had to let go of a lot of that stuff for me.
Yeah.
I can forgive you and not be around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Here's the thing. I forgive everybody. When I tell you, I've never felt like this before. I have no hate in my heart for anybody, Raven. I wish everybody well. I do, truly.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And hopefully the people who think that you're holding something on to, like some kind of hate, that they take that and they do something positive with it. So thank you for saying that as well. Now, listen, so like you said, like, it's not really tea for me, but some things in this book was tea for me. So
yeah, girl.
Like the twins, I said, what? The twins is, okay, twins.
Oh, you didn't know?
I didn't know.
I always said growing up, I was all like, listen, if I get married, even as a teenager, I can't put on a wedding dress with what I got. And so literally, like when I got engaged in summer 2016. We were engaged for 2 years because his brother's wedding was already planned for 17. So we scheduled our wedding for 18. And I was like, I'm not trying on no wedding dresses with these little bumblebees.
I had no idea. And like, we've known each other since like middle school, but it's like, I guess I never was like, oh, she got small boobs. Like, it just never
wear them padded bras. So most people don't even know, because what I ended up getting looks like the padded bras I was wearing. So if you
so supernatural. Okay. Yeah. I had no, I was like, what? Okay, sis. Okay.
Yeah. And it was funny because, you know, with all of my medical history and everything, honestly, what gave me the courage was the brain surgery. After I went under the knife for brain surgery, I said, oh, you can.
I can't listen to you.
And listen, you can't tell me nothing. And I was at the time when my husband was my fiance, I'm like, bro, I got a doctor's appointment. He's all like, for what? And I told him, and he's like, you were serious? I said, yeah, bro, this ain't no joke. And we went to the consultation, and I what the surgeon had to say, and I scheduled the surgery, and it was quick. Recovery wasn't too bad. It was the best money I've ever spent. Okay. Best money I've ever spent. Do you hear me? Like, because here's the thing, like, my weight's been up and down in adulthood, but you know, I was always a little bit fit. A butt wasn't a problem for me. I always had a little booty. My mom, you see my mom, like, you know, there was nothing that I could do for that. Gym, squat, like nothing. I said, and again, I wasn't trying on a wedding dress without none. So
yeah, here we are.
Literally, I went and, you know, did my thing. And then I think 3 weeks after was when I went dress shopping.
Okay. You said, okay, check. Now I can go get this dress. All right, let's do this. Let's do it.
That's how it happened.
So I know in the beginning you talked about, like, you know, you and your husband now, but at the time it was your fiance. You had no business, you know, and get accepting his proposal and all that. But what made you stay after, you know, the mess with the kids, but then also being jumped? Like, like enough wasn't enough. Like, you were tired, but enough wasn't enough. So what made you stay after the jump? They jumped you.
Because it didn't have anything to do with him, if that makes sense. Like, it did. Obviously, he was the common denominator, but I knew where he stood as far as that went. And I knew she was just bitter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was all like, I mean, me today probably would have left. But back then, I guess I just didn't see it as, she wasn't a threat to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In no way, shape, or form, she wasn't a threat to my relationship. I'll say that.
Yeah.
She wasn't a threat to my relationship. So, you know what I mean? It was all like, leaving him's not going to, you know, I just... Right.
And like, she was married, right? Not to be clear, she was actually married when this happened.
Or engaged.
Okay. Because I'm like, well, you got your own
I think she was
stuff here. Okay.
Let me see. We got married at 6. Yeah, because I got jumped in 16. Yeah, she was engaged. She got married the following year, and we got married the year after, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And even that was like, Yeah, that was a very, very interesting experience. And I always felt bad for her daughter and the husband. Cause girl, what was you telling them?
Right. And that the scene where you're like, oh, we at the festival. I said, you got to come because you doing damn Pam, you be doing too much. Like
just too much. And like too much. And for me, like I said, I never wanted it to be Billy.
Yeah.
Like, I respected her because of the role she played in his children's lives. And you know what I mean? Like, I have no issue with her.
Right.
I was just receiving all of this. And I'm all like, and again, I think that was a lot of the reason too why I didn't leave him, because I knew that he wasn't the problem. You know what I'm saying? Because when I came around, before she knew he was dealing with me, I seen what their relationship was, and it was cool. Like, you know, I knew what was going on. It wasn't, and then she found out it was me, and it was like
the little girlfriend. You the little girlfriend.
The switch went off. And because even he was all like, yo, what the I was like, I don't know. I said, because remember, we was invited to her house. She invited us. Right. But that was before she knew
it was who you were. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
I wish that things could have played out a lot differently, especially for the children.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it was fair to them how any of that took place. But
here we are. Right. And as I was reading, I'm all like, when you said, oh, you know, his I don't gotta worry about baby mama drama, like, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm like, damn, it was pretty much equivalent. Being a mom dealing with baby mama drama, I was like, damn, I mean, if I had to choose, I don't even know which one.
Exactly.
Pick the lesser evil.
Exactly. Because like I said, when we was just kicking it and nobody really knew about me and him, I knew what was going on with him and the ex, and I saw the way that they raised the kids, and I didn't have a problem with it, especially with the way that I grew up. Like, a blended family was not something that I was not familiar with.
Right.
Like, the way my dad loved on my sister, there's, you know what I mean? I'm not getting in the middle of that.
Right.
If that's your kid, like, if them is your kids, them is your kids.
So be it, right.
I'm not.
I respect it.
Like I said, everything escalated when my identity was revealed, and it was like, well, damn. What I do?
They mad as you.
And listen, and that was why, what was it? Bitter. Summer Walker. Bitter.
Like, your music cues was just on point. And I'm just like I listened, like, I loved everything about the book. Like, I'm looking forward to season 2, but like, everything was just on point. Like, some of your music cues made me crack up, and I'm like, fitting, very fitting, very fitting. So, and then you did the quote, when the hate don't work, they start telling lies. And I forgot, it was about Wesley. Somebody said, no, that's Fab. Fab said that. You misquoted that. That was Fab. But just well, no, Fab said it in his song. But when I read it, I'm all like, that was Fab. But like,
I was doing mad research because I wanted to make sure I wasn't misquoting nobody. I'm all like, man, intellectual property is a big deal, especially in the day and age of social media. I'm I'm not taking nobody's credit. If this is a quote from somebody else, I am referencing.
You giving it to them, yeah. Yeah, I respect it. I love it. So, speaking of your dad, how's your dad doing with your brother? Like, I know your brother is going to college, or he's in college. Has communication changed, or?
My brother is in his second semester at Morehouse.
Go Morehouse.
I am so proud of my baby brother. Like, I always thought it was weird when it would be like grown ass women with brothers that were adults that still baby. And I'm like, I get it now.
Yeah.
My brother's 18, right? So he's a young adult. But that's still my baby.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of him. Like I said, he's in his second semester at Morehouse. He's actually, for spring break, he's going on tour with the choir.
Okay.
Choir, yeah. He'll be in Philly. I can't remember the day. Whatever day it was, it's in the middle of the week. And me and my one sister can't go, but my other sister that does live in Philly, her friends are going to go. So I'm like, great, somebody can get there, because I'm like, I can't get to Philly in the middle of the week. But like I said, I'm so happy for him. Obviously, I don't talk to my dad, but from what my brother has said, there is some communication. And I think, if I remember correctly, the last thing I heard was that one of the stops on my brother's tour is in Ohio, and my dad's supposed to go to that show. And
great. Okay.
He's so happy.
Okay.
So happy. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, thank you. You know what I mean? I love my father, and it seems like he's, you know, doing better. He wants to try to get it right, because if nothing else, just do right by your son. That's all I ask.
Right.
Because I'm a big girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big girl, big daughter. I'm good. Like,
You
just
said you're right.
do right by your son.
I respect it. So we have like one more big question. And this question is for me, but I think some other females can benefit from this. But what would you say, because in your book, you know, you have your tribe, you have your zoo crew, and like you had a plethora of helpers, you know, with their hand in your book as far as opinions and stuff like that. So what would you say to the people who doesn't have a tribe or a sister circle? Like, again, speaking for myself, I'm in the stage where like the people I thought would be my long-term friends we're not friends no more. And it's like rekindling. I don't know if it's even worth it, but everybody needs somebody to hold them accountable, you know, to help them unpack their stuff. So what would you say to I don't want to say friendless. I have associates, but what would you say to us less sister circle people?
So I'm so happy you said that, because I'm gonna pull up my own book, but
okay,
the survival squad, which you call a tribe, like, you know, so you're right. There's the Zeus crew and the survival squad, and whoo, you're right. You know, I talked a lot about how in this journey a lot of relationships have shifted.
Right.
You know, platonic friendships, you know, romantic relationships, familiar relationships, everything has shifted. And as I reflect on previous friendships and relationships and things like that, there was a lot of self-reflection and self-accountability. You know, what could I have done differently? You know, what happened in this friendship? Because like I mentioned, your trauma is showing up everywhere you go.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't get, unless you address it, it's showing up everywhere you go, in all relationships, work, like everything. And so on this journey, when I was looking back, like, damn, like, you know, that one might have really been my fault. Like, you know, or that one was like, I could have handled that differently. And that was big. So I say the first thing is self-reflection. You know what I mean? Take a look at the commonalities in those relationships that change, you know, what happened. Right. You know, just what role did you play before we start blaming anybody?
Self.
Right. And that was what I had to do. And then you start, because here's the thing, just because we're going to first focus on self doesn't mean that these other people wasn't wow for what anything that they've done. You know what I mean? Right. Just before we start pointing the finger, let's turn it around and let's figure out what we could have done differently. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you don't get a sister circle, like if you don't got a squad, get you one. You have to. And I guess I didn't really realize the significance of it, because I've never not had friends. Me and you for a very long time. I've never not had friends. You know what I mean? Never a struggle for me. Some of my longest standing friendships came from middle school, you know, high school. Like a lot of those are my family. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are certain people that, we went to school together, but like, that's my family. You can't tell me otherwise. We're stuck like that.
Right.
There are others who I thought the same thing of, and it's all like, life happens, and it's like, it's no beef. Our lives are just growing in different directions.
Right. Growing apart. Right.
And even, so here's the thing. I have friends that I'm still close to that I don't talk to every day, and we live completely different lifestyles, but that's still, you know, it's there. It's never, you know what I mean? Even as I'm growing and they're growing, whereas some of those other relationships, I was growing in a way that I couldn't coexist with some of those relationships because I was growing in a different way. Like my outlook on things are so much different now. And people can't get on board when you start to do this kind of work on self.
You got to leave them where they at.
Yeah. Sadly, you know what I mean? Sadly. And that's not what I wanted to do. But as it was like unconsciously, my relationship started to shift. The ones that weren't good for me started, and then the ones that were serving me started showing up, and people were pulling me in. And I'm like, okay, this is what friends look like. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not mad at the people that I'm no longer friends with, because again, we're all trying to figure this shit out.
Yes, we
you know
are.
what I mean? I'm not mad at anybody.
Right.
It's just one of those things where I had to recognize, as my relationships were changing, and the women that I have in my life that love on me in a way that I could have never imagined, I'm like, this is how we get through this.
Right.
And I think too, I had a lot of peers when I would have conversations, and we would have similar experiences in our relationships with our mothers and what we saw our mothers live through. And I always say it's up to the next generation to fix what the previous generation couldn't.
Right.
And for my parents, my mom broke that poverty had on our family. So I didn't go without growing up. Like we had everything, you know what I mean? There wasn't, you name it, you know what I mean? We had houses, we had cars, there was nothing that I did not have when it came to shelter, finances, material, like, we had all of that. But in order for me to get that, mama had to go to work.
Right.
Mom's at work. Mom's not at home.
Right.
Mom's not mentally and emotionally available because she's working. And that's why Mother Hustler was an important chapter to me, because I need people to understand that I'm not mad at either of my parents. I'm hurt, right? Rightfully so. When you start to look at your childhood, I'm like, dang, like, I'm hurt. And what hurt more was that when I would go to them, they couldn't receive it. Because I'm not trying to be malicious. I'm not trying to call you a bad parent. I genuinely just want to be able to talk about the things that were missed. And so I feel like, especially as the eldest granddaughter on my father's side, as the oldest child of my parents, it's my responsibility to make sure that we break these trauma bonds, break the mental illness. Like, we have to really dig into that. And like I said, my parents didn't have the capacity for that. I get that. I do. And here
we are.
You know what I mean? And it's either you're going to come or you're not, but I can't stay there.
Right.
I have no desire to sit in that anymore.
Right.
Like, I had to face it, and it was ugly. And like I said, a lot of how I was able to get through that was my squad. You know what I mean? That's survival. I mean, they saw me at my lowest. It was to the point where I was starting to look like what I was going through. I wasn't going outside. I lost 30 pounds. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And my friends was calling, come on, we're going to lunch. Get you out the house. What you want? You know what I mean? Because I was in a state of depression. Now I was like, yeah, this is wild. Life ain't supposed to look like this. You know what I mean? And again, when I was going through all of that, my squad lifted me up. And my husband, of course, like, I'm always, and that's the thing, even when we be at our worst, that man is going to make sure I'm okay.
Back. Yep.
Even when I don't like him, he going to make sure I'm okay. And that's why I tell people, like, I don't know about y'all, but my husband don't play about me.
As he shouldn't.
My husband don't play about me. Like I said, he drives me crazy, and vice versa. And like I said, it has not been an easy journey whatsoever. But at the end of the day, when we were talking about divorce and when I left, because that's a real thing, one of the girls on the squad said, he really ain't that bad, girl. Ain't nothing out here. You want to look. And I'm like, here's the thing. I'm not looking for anything else out there. It just was, like I said, the betrayal. I couldn't, but going through that betrayal with him and pointing the finger forced me to unpack my stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm all like, all right. I'm not justifying what he did, because the nigga was wrong for lying, like, but I married my dad.
Yeah.
Lying is a trauma response. I married my dad, and the way that my husband lies, like my dad lies, was like, oh, so this is a thing. And again, therapy, because if not for therapy, we needed an unbiased third party to help us see the other and be able to, break that communication barrier, especially since we come from two completely different worlds.
Right. Hold that thought, because I just ran out. We was on this for an hour, so I gotta save this video so I can open another one. Hold on. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
And I didn't want to cut you off. Look,
I get it. Technology.
All right. So as soon as this save. Let's go. Let's go. And I'm sitting here like, I need a squad. Like, even if it's just one or two people, like, you know, of course I'm in a new area and it's like meeting people who actually look like me because it's so diverse. It's like, it's far and few. It's far and few. So it's like, where are the sisters at? Because I can't, who are relatable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need some people who can relate to me without me feeling like me expressing myself is like a foreign language.
I had a friendship like that during the pandemic shifted because there was I actually didn't plan on talking about this till season 3, but who knows when season 3 is coming because I ain't know what season 2, but friendships. I had 2 friends. They were work friends. So let's start with that. They were work friends, but sometimes work friends turn into real life friends.
Absolutely.
So we would have lunch together and it was so crazy because there was this white girl and in the office, we just didn't, you know.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting moved to her team and they sat us next to each other. I'm here to do a job. She had a friend, I guess, with the young lady that was sitting in the seat they put me in, I would come and visit her, right? Okay. And eventually, I started talking to the white girl, then her friend would kind of chime in. So we would all start going to lunch together eventually. Like, you know, it was cool. Then we start hanging out outside of work, like, you know. And during the pandemic, I think it was either Breonna Taylor or George Floyd. But it was when Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
And I have white friends from college, like, you know, I have white friends who are true allies, you know, that's not foreign to me. And so in the midst of all of this stuff, we had a group thread and she sent a text about some vegan recipe because I used to be vegan.
Right.
And I'm all like, all this stuff going on and this is what you sent me? Like, you ain't
get the memo about what's going on around here?
Like, I just, you know, and I can't even remember exactly what I said, but, you know, she went on to say that she is an ally or she is because she posted stuff in her story and all of this stuff. And I'm all like, yeah, but posting stuff in your story so it expires in 24 hours and initiates private conversations does not challenge the people around you.
Right.
Like, you know, so we're having that. And then the other friend, she was a Black girl. She felt like I was overreacting. Like she jumped to the white girl's defense. Like, and I'm like, first of all, you just broke the Black girl code.
Absolutely.
Because even if you felt like that, you should have been texting me and calling me on the side. You don't do that in front of company.
Right.
I thought y'all was first, but so what? So I went off and I just told them both to be blessed. After the Black friends start calling me in and texting me, I have nothing to say now. You know what I mean? Because for me, it was like, hey, here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie. That wasn't the only thing with the Black girl. That was the last straw for me with her. Okay. You know, there were some other things where I was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna give her grace. You know, and then she did that and it was like, you know what? I'm tired of ignoring red flags. I'm done. Yeah. This was in a season where I was literally cutting everybody off. Like, you blinked at me wrong. And I was like, I don't have the energy.
You gotta go.
And so boundaries happened at, you know, a better time. And like I said, I'm not mad at either one of them. I wish them both well. We just can't coexist. Or you know what I mean? Because I was like, because when I say I'm a Black woman first, I'm a Black woman first. I'm pro-Black AF. You can't, you know what I mean? And I just didn't like the way that happened. And so
gotta go. You gotta go. Yeah.
Like I said, it ain't beef. You know, I ain't mad. I wish them both well. I have no idea what the white girl's up to. And it's so crazy because me and the white girl had a mutual Black friend. Like, our other mutual Black friend is my best friend. Like, it was crazy. But I was like, yeah, no, not interested.
Yeah, gotta go. Sorry.
Right. Sorry. Like I said, a lot of my friendships, not a lot in the pandemic, but things have shifted and I've learned how to position certain people. And I'm just trying to live my best life. And I don't want to be, I can't heal in the environment I was hurt in.
Absolutely.
Like you can and you can't to a degree. Cause it's like, yeah, my husband hurt me, but this is my husband. This is my partner. And because of that, I have to prioritize this. So I don't have the energy for all. You know what I'm saying? I can't. I'm only one person. And if I'm going to be stressed out and trying to fix something, it's going to be my marriage. Because at the end of the day, that man makes sure I'm okay. Like I have not worked since before the pandemic. I don't know a single man that I've dealt with in the past that would have given me the space and the grace to
not do it. Yeah.
Just exist.
Respect, husband, respect.
Thank you. And even the book series, like anything I tell my husband I want to do, he'd be like, all right, how we going to do it? He will literally, my husband will do anything for me. And I've never had that before. You know what I mean? Like even this whole book series, like I spent all his money on this. all of it. All of it. Okay. And he allowed me to do that because he believed in what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he saw the purpose and he was just, I always say, I know it's clean when I'm saying my husband ain't shit, but he's a good person. He is. He genuinely, like I said, it's when you unpack that hurt and that trauma and all of that, you know, from your past and you really face it and take accountability and peace is on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And I genuinely want this for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I remember like I was passive aggressive. I was mean. Sometimes, not always. People say I'm mean when I'm not mean. You know what I mean? It's like they don't even know when I'm really being mean. People think that when I'm being direct, I'm being mean. And it's all like, no, I just said what I said.
You're just right. You're being honest. Get your shit together.
Right. But you read the book.
She told me to get my shit together.
All my life. Like, girl. But yeah, like I said, it's just, I want peace. Like I said, and the peace that I have in my heart, you know, and genuinely wanting well for people that other people think that I should hate. I'm like, I can't no more. I carried that hate around for a long time. I didn't like what it did to me. I just don't, you know what I mean? And it's so crazy because on this journey on social media, there's all these like new terms and everything. And I remember when the term fake positive came up and people would say that, and I'm like, I don't get it. And now that I am where I am, I do get it because there are people who think that I am fake positive because they know me from my past and they feel like I'm being fake now. And I'm like,
you should still be there. Wow. You should still be that person that you were. Yeah. Yeah. Cause who grows? Nobody grows, right?
I don't live there no more.
Right. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I can't afford it. If I want better for my life, for the culture, like I can't be that person anymore. And I'm proud of myself. Like, and it's so crazy because the people around me even notice it. Cause like even my sisters, like my one sister called me and told me something and it was heavy. Right. And when I asked her why she never told me, she goes, because I knew that if I told you before the place that you're in now, there was no,
you wouldn't be able to, yeah,
that information. Like off the rip, she was like, she's like, and I trust now that, and that was also big for me because it was like, damn, only now am I a safe space for my sisters. I had to get that, you know what I mean? Because they know that I love them and they know that I'm gonna protect them, but she didn't feel safe to come to me with that because she didn't know what I would do with it.
Yeah.
And because of the growth that she sees with me, she's all like, okay, now my sister's safe. And I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta get my shit together. You feel me? So
I'm so happy for you. I'm happy for your healing journey. I'm happy for your growth and having no hate in your heart for the people who caused some of this trauma. You know what I'm saying? Because it seems like a lot of it, usually when things are self-inflicted, like we hate to sit in our mess, but you were sitting in mess that was created from other people for the most part. And it's like, kudos to you. Kudos to you on the book. Kudos to you on your journey. Congratulations to you and your husband being in a better space.
Thank you.
And I wish nothing but the best for you moving forward. I'm
so grateful.
So one piece of advice before I let you go, one piece of advice you would give to anybody on their healing journey.
Forgiveness. So I know it's cliche. Forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you.
For you.
But that's real, because people assume that when you forgive somebody, that means that you are justifying what they did, making excuses for what they did, forgetting what they did. And I'm just like, no, I have literally forgiven everybody who's ever hurt me. What I haven't done is chose to reconcile with those people, right?
Right.
Reconciliation after forgiveness is different than forgiving them. I can forgive you and not want to reconcile.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They
Reconciliation requires additional steps. You know what I mean? And that's where the 5 of a Kind forgiveness guide comes in a workbook, where I talk about that, because again, the forgiveness part is for you.
Right.
Carry that hate around. You know what I mean? They don't care what they did to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they do not care.
Right.
And so in order for you to get some peace, you got to learn to forgive so that you can move on. Because like I said, people are, especially with my parents, like, people have so many opinions about it, but it's like, I forgave my parents because I understand what happened with my parents. You know what I mean? Like, I understand. It's so funny because when I look at my own workbook, sometimes I can't believe I did it. Like, all of it, like, Dad.
It's bomb. It is bomb.
Damn. Okay. So, like I said, forgiveness is for you. But in order to reconcile, people have to understand that it requires a few things: acknowledgement, apology, accountability, and acceptance of boundaries. And like I said, I have forgiven my parents, but we have not reconciled yet because they can't do all of those things yet. You know what I mean? Like, one of my parents can acknowledge what they've done to me, the other cannot. One of them has apologized, the other one refuses. Like, you know, accountability, both of them are kind of like, you know,
what's that? Yeah.
Right. And then the boundaries, they can't accept the boundaries, because even if they did all that other stuff, they cannot accept the boundaries, at least not now where they are. And that's why there hasn't been that reconciliation that everybody is yearning for in our relationships. And I keep telling people, it's not beef with my parents. I love them. I wish them well. If they ever need me, they know how to find me. But we cannot reconcile until all of us can get to a place of acknowledging, you know, apologizing, taking accountability, and accepting each other's boundaries.
Right.
And like I shared in the book, there was a lot of blurred lines with the boundaries with my relationship with my parents, just because of the way that I grew up. And when I became an adult, I was like, this ain't really healthy. I mean, it was cool at work, but all right, now we're in the 2020s now.
Right.
90s and the early 2000s. I get it. That's what we did back then. But just because it's tradition doesn't mean that it's appropriate or that that was fitting for the time. That's not where we're at right now.
Right. So they got to ameliorate, little child. They got ameliorate. Yes. In order for you guys to reconcile. I almost forgot about the vocabulary word, but yep. So, okay.
Yeah, it's a good one. And it start with an A, like the other ones. Oh, girl. Add that into the conversation.
There it is. All right. So I thank you so much for giving me your time to come on and talk about the book. Before you go, real quick, talk about what you're doing with Women's History Month, and you're donating your books. And then one more time, where they can find your stuff.
So the books can be found at sozube.com. That's SOZUBE.com. It's even on my little, you see my little thing? I got my book.
It's a little blurry on my end though, but those are cute.
Thank you. So for Women's History Month, I decided that I've been saying for a long time, if I could give the books away, I would, but I can't afford to give the books away because I need to live. Right. And so the whole point of what I'm doing is to help the community. And I'm all like, I've been so blessed, honestly, with the success of the series, that I'm all like, I can afford to give back, and I have to find a way to make it make sense. You know, right. So I was all like, okay, for every 4 bundles purchased this month, I'm going to donate a survival guide to a women-led organization that supports women. And then at the end of the month, when we tally them up, however many we come to donate, I'm going to donate to which organization that the crew chooses. So far, the only recommendation that I've gotten is Gwen's Girls. I'm not super familiar with them. I think I know.
I've heard about them. They're from like Clearton or something.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, right now, I think we're up to 2 workbooks to donate and 1 bundle away from the 3rd donation.
Okay.
Like I said, I've been posting on social media for transparency so people know, this is where we are. This is how many we have to be donated, how much. I think it's important because, people be out here scamming and trying to use good things for bad.
Bad, yep.
It to ever, look like that's what I'm doing. So I want y'all to know, like, I'm genuinely serious about this. And that is why I feel like the survival guide is so important. And that I push the survival guide more than I push my memoir, because like you said, people see it as tea and it's like, it's not that. But if you want that, you want to do this work too.
Right. Because you got your own tea.
Exactly.
Come on, fill up your own cup.
Don't come for me if you ain't dope with yours. And I said,
right.
Especially when all that stuff with my parents, and people be like, "Oh, I'm telling your parents," and I be like, "Y'all want to go to my parents," but the thing is, my parents can't check me, and I'm not saying that like with arrogance. I'm saying that with healing. My parents can't check me because they haven't done their work. I want my parents to be able to check me. You know what I mean? But they're not there yet.
Yeah.
And until they've done that work, this is, and so like I said, I want to be able to help everybody, which is why I think it's important to give back. And that is why I want to put the survival guide in the hands of men and women, Yeah. I don't know, but for Women's History Month, I decided to specifically donate to a women-led organization that supports women in any way, whether it's a shelter, halfway house, just anything. I want these women to be able to have this resource to help them unpack their shit.
Right. So good for you. So thank you for coming. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Good luck on, child. I know you got to write this book, the season 2 and 3, but hopefully life don't life too much where, you can't keep it together and you start to retract on your healing, because you need some content.
Yeah.
So God will give you some content, but hopefully it's not too much, you can't handle. So good luck to you on your journey. Hopefully you stay healthy and well, and hopefully some reconciliation will come sooner than later. Like
I said, I'm hopeful, but like I said, before anything else, I have to protect my peace.
Absolutely. Thank you for the survival journey. And one more time, where can the people find your stuff at?
SoZube.com. That's SoZube.com. The link is in the bio of all of my social media platforms. I am on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook as SoZube.
SoZube. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to What You Raving About podcast episode 3, Survival with SoZube. I need all you guys' feedback, and everybody have a safe week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoo.
See ya.